So now it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker. Jeffrey Hayzlett is a global business celebrity and former Fortune 100 C-suite executive. From small business to international corporations, he's put his creativity and extraordinary entrepreneurial skills into play, launching ventures blending his leadership perspectives, insights into professional development, mass marketing prowess, and affinity for social media. He's a well-traveled public speaker, the author of the best-selling books The Mirror Test and Running the Gauntlet, celebrity editor to one of the largest circulation business publications, and one of the most compelling figures in global business. Jeffrey is an esteemed business and marketing expert, appearing frequently on programs like Fox Business News, MSNBC's Your Business, and NBC's Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump. Drawing upon an eclectic background in business, buoyed by a stellar track record of keynote speaking, and deeply rooted in cowboy lore, Jeffrey energizes his role driving and delivering change. He's a turnaround architect of the highest order, a maverick marketer who delivers scalable campaigns, embraces traditional modes of customer engagement, and possesses a remarkable cachet of mentorship, corporate governance, and brand building. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. Jeffrey Hayzlett.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Let's start this thing off right. You know, I listened to Catherine Munson this morning, a little bit at the noon talk today. It was a very interesting talk. First of all, she said if a cat showed up on stage, she said she'd say, did you remember what she said? Here, kitty, 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 kitty. Well, if a cat shows up on stage, I'm going to say, what the fuck is a cat doing on stage? And then she said, you got to wear out the shoes and not the sheets. What the hell is she smoking, right? No, Catherine's a very good friend of mine. In fact, that job that she talked about, I was actually a reference for the job. I actually introduced her to Ann and said, let's get her up here because I thought she'd do a great job. And I actually put her on the Undercover Boss, which has been one of our shows. I want to talk to you if I can, so I want your attention as we can speak, because this is an unbelievable organization. I get paid a lot of money to go from group to group to group, but this one I do for nothing, because of who you are. Yeah. I was on television this week talking about BlackBerry's announcement on their earnings. And no matter where I go around the world, people ask me about my last employer. See, I used to be the chief marketing officer of Eastman Kodak. And about a year ago, they went bankrupt. I left that company about 3 years ago or so. And everybody asked me about them and what happened. What happened with that company? And I tell people they didn't go bankrupt last year. They went bankrupt back in 1975. See, in 1975, a gentleman by the name of Steve Sasson invented what we call the new digital camera. In 1975, he sat in a room in Rochester, New York, on a December evening, and he put some component parts together. He stitched together what became the digital camera, and he took a photograph of a photograph. And he went the next day to executives like myself at the corporate headquarters from one office to another, running into those offices to say, look what I have discovered, look what I made. It's the new digital camera. It's going to change the way that photography is done forever. And every executive told him to put it away. Said, stick it away. See, because you're messing with the film, and Kodak said we're a film company. They were never a film company. They had the only product that people would actually run back into a burning building to save. They were an emotional technology company. They were afraid of change. And I'm going to talk to you about change. And I want to talk to you about the career that you're embarking on and what it means for you and how this is going to change your life in terms of what you can do and how you can do it. And I know that there's going to be some awards, so I'm going to do my best to make it as fast as possible. But, you know, Being in front of you reminds me of the first time I met my wife's great-grandmother. Now, I'm from South Dakota. Delta Mu. I always say that when I go over the world, thousands and thousands of people, and I'll say, I'm from South Dakota, anyone here? And no one ever raises their hand. And I always tell them, I said, no, this is what we'd call population density in our state, right here. No, I'm not shitting you. You'd be like the 5th largest city right here in this room. I remember the first time I met my wife's great-grandmother. My wife is about 5'1", about 105 pounds. I'm 6'3", 200 and some pounds. And Grandma Agnes was even smaller than Tammy. And the first time I met her, she looked up at me. She looked at Tammy. She looked up at me. She looked at Tammy. She looked up at me. And she turned back to her and said, "Isn't he bigger than necessary?" Right? So I feel like that with you today. But I want to talk to you about change and driving change. In fact, at the front of my book, I put this as a dedication to all the naysayers, opportunists, and obstructions who stand in the way of driving change in an organization. Note, we will beat you. And I'm asking you to go out and be change agents for the future. And I'm not talking about just change for change's sake. So whether it's in 1824 or the year 2013, in 1824, one of the biggest phenomenons of our time ever occurred. It was the fur trapping industry. The fur trapping industry was like one of the biggest technology breakthroughs of ever. In fact, they used to have all these guys that used to wear these top hats. Remember those top hats in the old pictures? Well, those were beaver pelts on top of their heads. And these trappers used to go out for months at a time, and they would trap all these little rodents in the water. And then they would get pelt after pelt, and they'd stack them up, and in springtime they would run off to the convention just like this, and they would go and they would trade in all the pelts, and they would get the new secrets of what was going to happen for the next year, the new trap, the new scents, the new whatever it was. Like one trapper was traveling through my part of the country, was grabbed by the Shoshone or the Sioux and taken back to the village. He was stripped down naked, told they're going to kill him, but they give him one chance to live. If he ran the gauntlet, and they would take everybody and line them up on one side, and line everybody up on the other side, then they'd arm them with sticks and knives and stones. And they said, if you run down the gauntlet, if you run through it and you make it through, we'll let you live. And they would beat the living shit out of this guy as he ran through. Well, let me tell you, folks, that's what it's going to be like when you get out in the real world. See, people are going to come to you, they're going to be armed with knives and sticks and all kinds of things and tell you you can't do it. See, they're naysayers. People don't believe in change. They like it the way it used to be, and that's what they'll fight for. They want it all the time. But see, that's what you've got to be able to do is change that, your sales and marketing executives to be. And I'm not talking about just driving change for change's sake, because I don't want to do that. What we have to do is adapt, change, or die. That's the only options that you've got. Adapt, change, or die. And I'm not talking about just locking the steering wheel in. I mean, when we go on trips, we don't just jump in the car and put the gas pedal all the way down. We make adjustments. And that's what's going to happen in your career. You're going to be making adjustments as you go through. But keep in mind exactly what it is you want to do and how you want to do it. And be able to drive that for us. See, there we go. In fact, most of us are going to think, well, our path looks like this from point A to point B. And it's never that way. I've never found a plan that ever works like it's supposed to. You constantly have to change, adapt it, make it different. When I first got to Kodak, I was so excited to go to work at Kodak. I mean, I couldn't wait to go to Kodak. In fact, I was so excited, I jumped on a plane like a week early. A week early. I jumped on a plane in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. I flew to Rochester. I'm sitting next to this 25, 26-year-old gal. I get into conversation with her because I wanted to ask me what I do so I can tell her. She starts talking about herself, going on, yada, 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 like I want to hear any of that shit. Blah, 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 blah. Finally, she takes a break and says, well, what do you do? I said, well, thank you for asking. I'm the chief marketing officer of the Eastman Kodak Company. And she said, who's that? True story. Fortune 100 company. Throw the slide back up there of the clock if you would, Ryan. Thank you. When I got to Kodak, overseeing $17 billion in spend, I decided to test the mettle of my team, and what I did was I called a meeting together of my various members of the team, and I got to the room a little early, and there was a clock on the wall much like this one. And I got up on a chair, and I went to the clock, and I changed it. I moved ahead by about 20 minutes. Because, see, as people came into the room, I wanted to see what they would do. They walked in, they'd look at the clock, look at their watch, look at the clock, look at the sheet of the paper that said the agenda of the time of the meeting, look at their watch, look at the clock, and say, hey, the clock's wrong. And this would go on, and every one person after another came in, the clock's wrong. Pretty soon they started arguing about it. My God, I can't believe the clock is wrong. Someone should do something about this. And they would go on and on. They said, we should call somebody. Then they would form a committee and a meeting and then start calling around to different departments. This went on for week after week. Finally, after about the second week, I got to the meeting a little early, got there. People started to come in, they look at the watch, look at the clock, look at the watch, clock, watch, everything over and over and over. Finally, someone said, we got to do something. I said, yes, why doesn't someone do something? Well, finally, a woman got up, she went over to the clock, put a chair, she hiked up her dress, stood on top of the chair, and she changed the clock. I named her my chief of staff the very next day. In fact, she's running a $500 million corporation today. We're looking for clock changers. We're looking for people who can be clock changers. You're in this fraternity. Not all the other students joined it. Because, see, you're different. You're clock changers. And that's what we're looking for in this world. All of these companies are here to recruit you because you are clock changers. And people are going to try to come after you and tell you not to do it. Over and over, but fight them, fight them. You've got to continue to be that clock changer. In fact, we're looking for people with what we call notable assets. What I call white buffaloes, those sacred animals that only show up every so often in my part of the world. They stand out in the herd. Clock changers, people who are problem solvers, not seekers. I don't need you to come in. When I'm the chief marketing officer, I got 2,500 marketing people. I don't need people to come in. I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. I know what's wrong. I don't give a shit. I already know what's wrong. I want people who bring me solutions. You bring me solutions, now you're valuable. If you're just bringing me problems, well, all you're doing is bitching and moaning. I want people who are change agents to the process, who say, I see something I need to change and change it. People who span silos, people who reinforce the goals. And I'm not talking about blindly drink the Kool-Aid, but once we drink it, it better taste good. That's what we're looking for. Listen, my friends, there's 5 things I'm going to speak with you tonight. 5 things that I've noticed in business that change the way people decide whether to be successful or not. 5 reasons to change. Number 1 is fear. This is going to happen to you in your career. We're afraid. People fail because we're afraid of fear. Look, all my life I wanted to be a cowboy. I did. I grew up wanting to be a cowboy. My father was in the military. We moved from school to school. Every year I moved to a different school. Finally we got to high school and I always said I want to be a cowboy, but I couldn't afford it. Finally in my 30s I decided I'm going to be a cowboy. So I went out and got the book, Horses for Dummies. I got the videotapes. I talked to consultants. I talked to people who own horses. I got a saddle, one for me, one for my wife, one for my son, my daughter, and an extra one just in case. I got a trailer. I got blankets. I got everything. Then I got the horses. I decided that maybe what I should do is take them to a stables before I took them out to my ranch in the middle of the state. I said, because if I let them loose on my ranch, I might not catch them again. I didn't know how. So I took them to a stable so I could kind of learn how things were done because I hadn't done any of that stuff before. Oh, sure, I read the book. You know, watched the videotapes. And I remember I got my horses out and took them to the stables and got them out of the trailer and tied them to the fence. And now I'm going to ride them for the first time. I got the blankets and I put the saddle on and I put the reins and I didn't know what strap went where. And even though I watched the video, I did my very best. But, you know, like the saddle went underneath his stomach. And then if you've ever put on the reins, there's like one ear here and another one. And I was like screwing it up and the horse was getting pissed and he's bucking around and it's not working good. So finally, I looked around and off in the distance was like this young woman about 14. Little petite girl. I walked over to her and I said, hey, would you help me saddle my horse? big strapping cowboy. If you're going to be a maestro, you got to learn to play a lot of bad notes. See, the fear only lasts for a second. Tonight, gentlemen, some of you are going to see a beautiful woman across the room. You're going to be afraid to ask her. It's only a couple seconds. If you ever stand on the high dive, I'm scared to death of heights. I'm serious. If I wear 2 pairs of socks, I get a nosebleed. I remember the first time I jumped off the high dive, I was so scared. I remember standing on the edge, scared. And finally I jumped about halfway down. I'm going, I can't wait to do this again. See, that's what it's like. So when you're asking for the first job, doing the first phone call that you're going to have to make, the first presentation, you're going to be scared. Get over it. It's only going to last a second or two. And you know what? You're going to make mistakes. No one's going to die. Number 2, tension. We're sales and marketing executives. Our job is to create tension. And I'm the chief marketing officer. I was the chief tension officer at my company. See, my job was to take everybody from the center of the stage and move them to the edge. That's what tension officers do. Have the competition. They have a saying in sports, no pain, no. Where's the tension then in business? Oh, yeah, we know some of those HR and those legal guys. They try to drag you back to the center where it's safe, where it's politically correct. Sneaky bastards. That's not their job. See, their job is to make sure that I don't fall off. Our job is to create tension. You're in sales and marketing. If you're not creating tension, you're worthless. Worthless! Number 3, radical transparency. You're getting this. Most of your older peers never will. They don't understand. I was one of the first 1,000 people in Twitter. By the way, what's the problem with you guys? I don't see any of you twittering worth a dang. By the way, the person that twitters about this speech the most is going to get a personal recommendation to any CMO anywhere in the world that you want to meet. How's that? Get your frickin' phones out and get started. Radical transparency. You should be talking about the elephants in the room. If you see things that are wrong, talk about it. That's what we want you to do. Radical transparency. The more, see, for years, businesses forced, companies forced people to deal with them with 800 numbers from hours that were open from 8 to 5. And now everybody's talking about how they're listening to the customer. What the hell were you doing before? See, now it's about radical transparency and being open in our communication. And number 4, let's talk about that. Oh, I love this one, risk. Driving risk. I was in one of the most public fights in business history. We decided at our company to take on this company called Big Ink. Big Ink, you know who they are. They made $9 billion last year off of inkjet cartridges. Now, I can't tell you their name. But we were out there selling inkjet printers against this company, and our motto was a fair price for the printer and half price for the ink. Now their price is basically give you the printer off the shelf for free, but lock up the cartridges behind the counter. Ink! Most expensive liquid on the face of the earth. More expensive than human blood. I was watching the news earlier today. They're giving the price of oil. What the hell is that about? Give the price of ink. In fact, let me tell you, I can't tell you this company's names because the attorneys are following me around everywhere. But their initials are HP. So, yeah. Don't tweet that out. So, most expensive liquid. You know what's more expensive than oil per ounce? No, I'll get there. Bottled water is more expensive per ounce than oil. You know what's more expensive than bottled water? Some of you will be drinking it tonight. Vodka. Vodka is more expensive. And if you've had a really good year, you know what's more expensive per ounce than vodka? Champagne. And then, you know, if you've had too much vodka and champagne, you know what's even more expensive? Penicillin, yes, penicillin. Some of you might need that later. Now, and if you had a penicillin, life-saving penicillin, vodka, champagne, bottled water, and oil times a factor of 10, you have ink. Seriously, do you know what it would cost you to fill up your tank, your car, with ink from Big Ink? No, I'm serious. Like you're driving down here and you're paying $4 a gallon. You're going, oh, 20 gallons, that's $80. That's outrageous. Do you know what it would cost you to fill up your tank with ink from Big Ink? Come on, guess. $5,000, not even close. $462,000. Now at Kodak, I was going to only charge you half that because we cared. So we're in this fight against Big Ink, and so I'm poking them in the eye, trying to point out the price of pricey ink, and I said, we got to do something. We got to do something to really set this thing off. We got to do some kind of sales and marketing campaign that's big, that gets people's attention. And well, we found out that high burners of ink, those people that use twice as many cartridges per year as a normal burner of ink, like to watch movies. So we decided, I said, hey, how about we do a motion picture campaign? How about we do a mobile ad? And this was like 7 years ago. This is before anybody else was doing mobile campaigns. I said, how about we do a commercial? A commercial where they see the commercial, and then at the end, they text us and we send them 50% off. In fact, throw the slide back up there. That's what it looked like when we hired Vinny Pastore. Remember Vinny? He played Big Pussy on The Sopranos. I mostly just wanted to hire him so I could say Big Pussy on the stage. That's what I'm saying. No. But because who better to show the decadence of this bottle than a gangster? So here was the scene. Vinny pulls up onto the East River in a black Lincoln Continental. He gets out of the car. He's carrying a baseball bat, wearing a black leather coat. He walks around to the trunk. He opens up the trunk and he looks into the trunk. And the camera shot is looking up at his face as he's looking down into what you think is a body. The camera shot's looking and he goes, "You've been lying to us. You've been cheating us. You've been robbing us blind. The family says, you've got to go." And then we show a picture of an HP inkjet printer in the trunk. He takes it out. He puts it on the ground. He beats it with a baseball bat. He ties a chain around it with a cement block and he throws it into the river. He gets back in the car. He puts his arm around a Kodak printer and he says, "Welcome to the family." Then the headline says, "Don't get whacked by high inkjet prices. Text such and such and get 50% off." We tested this. Double-digit response on the mobile campaign. As a marketer, I'm peeing my pants with anticipation. This is awesome! Double-digit response! Are you freaking kidding me? Nationwide! Go nationwide with this campaign. And they did. And over the weekend, I went from motion picture theater to motion picture theater watching the ad as people responded. And on Monday morning, I sat down at my desk. I waited for them to bring in the results of the number of texts that we got over the weekend. 2 people walk in with a sheet of paper, put it on my desk, slide it across. I pick it up, I look at it, the number of texts that we got over the weekend. 2. I said, what, 2 million? They go, "No, Jeff, 2. I said, "No, don't ship me here. Like seriously." They go, "No, 2. I said, "Get everybody that's involved in this campaign and put them in a room right now." And so we did. We got together about 30 people. I said, "Somebody explain this to me." We got 2 texts. I spent millions of dollars on this campaign. I can tell you right now, when I got to explain it to the chairman of the board and to the board of directors, $2 million, a couple $1 million against 2 responses, this is not a good return on investment, okay? This is not going to fly. Someone please explain to me what the hell went wrong with this campaign. We tested it. Even the people at the PSE convention would find this freaking funny. Somebody explain to me what went wrong. Somebody finally raised their hand in the room and raised their hand. I said, what? They said, Jeff, what do you do when you walk into a motion picture theater with your phone? What do you do? I said, where the hell were you when we came up with this idea? I turned back to the team and I said, hey, no one died. No one died. See, our job is to take risks. We're in sales and marketing. You make a mistake, maybe the biggest thing that's going to happen is a paper cut. Right? So your job should be to take risks, cause risks, make things happen. That's what we want. We want people to take risks. That's what marketers and salespeople do. That's what they always did. And number 5 is promises. I want to talk about promises. These are like sales goals, keeping promises. How many of you ever had a promise with somebody, like a pinky promise, and try to break it, and they go, oh no, you made a pinky promise. That's what I'm talking about, promises. What is it supposed to be? In fact, promises, they work like this. You ever been to McDonald's at the drive-up? This is how it works. You pull up to McDonald's at the drive-up. What do? You go to the first window, you shout out your little order at the speaker. You pull up to the next window. You pay your money. You pull up to the next window. You expect to get your food. But it doesn't always work that way, does it? No, it doesn't work that way. Here's what happens. Pretty soon someone comes over to the window and says, I'm sorry, your order's not quite ready yet. If you would pull back over, right over there to that parking spot, we'll bring it out to you. Ever have that happen? You know why it happens? I'll tell you why. Because clowns lie. They lie. That's right. Oh yeah, do what I do. Fight back when these people come over. And they say, hey, would you mind pulling over that little parking spot over there? We'll bring it right out to you. Go, no, thank you. And I roll my window back up. Pretty soon, the 14-year-old assistant manager comes over and knocks on the window. Oh, yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Sir, you're going to hold everybody up if you don't pull forward. I go, I don't mind. And I roll my window back up. Pretty soon, the 16-year-old manager, oh, he comes over. And he opens the window and said, sir, is there a problem? I said, yeah, there's a problem. You made a promise with me. See, I gave you my order, you took it. I gave you my money, you took it. I'm here to get my food, you're not giving it to me. In fact, you're asking me to pull over to parking purgatory. But you're not trying to exchange anything, not renegotiating the promise. If you're not going to give me one of those McMinty shakes or one of those apple pies I like, I'm not moving. I roll my window back up. Now when I go to McDonald's, I shout out my order to the speaker. I pull up to the first window, I pay my money. I get to the second window. My food is thrown through the car window. Fight back. Promises. Keeping promises is the most important thing you could do in your career. I look for people that keep promises. Keeping promises, what I call mutual conditions of satisfaction. This is how they work. They've got a couple of key parts to it. They've got a customer. You've got a performer, you've got an action cycle. It looks like this. In the first phase, you have the offer. That offer is then taken up by the agreement. From the performer, then the performance is actually done. The work is done. And then you have delivery and acceptance. Mutual conditions of satisfaction. That's what you're driving at. That's bringing it home. That's what we're looking for in business today. And let me talk to you about why you're in this game. Because I have a lot of you come up to me and talk to me about things, about who you are and what you want to do. Figure it out. Figure it out. Understand what it is you want to do. I have 3 rules, simple for my life. I want to build wealth for me and my family. I want to grow professionally. And I want to have fun. And when I can't have those 3 things, I get out. The other piece of it is, when I was the chief marketing officer at Kodak, I had over 3,500 vendors who used to come to me and sell to me. And they would do their elevator pitch, and I got so ticked off at their elevator pitch because, see, they would sit there, and after an hour, they'd do a 48-page PowerPoint presentation, and at the end of the hour, I still don't know what the hell they did. So I finally started telling everybody, you're going to do the elevator pitch, and then the elevator pitch was still an hour long, so I said, no, they're going to do it in 118 seconds. It's called the 118. In fact, many companies are adopting, and this is what it is. 8 seconds is the average attention span of an adult. I know that to be true. I looked it up on the internet. 110 seconds is the average elevator ride in New York City. From the time you press the button, wait for the doors to open, step on, ride up, ride down, and get off. That's how much time you have. So you have 8 seconds to hook me. It's called the hook. And then what is that hook? That provocative statement that says, ooh, gets the lean-in factor that I want to hear the rest of the story. I want to hear what you've got. And then 110 seconds to close me. And don't waste your time. Tell me you work with this company or this company or this company. I don't care. Talk to me about the value that you're going to give to me, the value that you're going to provide. That's what I want to hear. And I know you're passionate about things. The people at Kodak were passionate. They were passionate. They were a film company. But they were a dead company because they said they were a film company rather than an emotional technology company. Look, I'm passionate about a lot of things. In South Dakota, I'm passionate about pheasants. I love pheasants. I do. I love to watch the little pheasants run around, the little ring necks and their tails, and I like to get a gun, hunt them down, and kill them. I was so passionate about pheasants for years, I started a pheasant farming operation at over 3,000 acres up near Miller. There's 2 people actually from Miller, South Dakota here. I can't believe that. Up near Miller, 3,000 acres, and I had pens the size of football fields with pheasants inside, and I put telephone poles around the fields, and I strung up nets so that the pheasants could run free before I killed the bastards. One night in South Dakota, we had a thunderstorm roll across the prairie as we normally have in the summer. Had over 3 inches of rain in less than a half an hour. And I had 10,000 pheasants huddled together, look up into the sky, open their little beaks, and drown. These are the stupidest fucking birds on the face of the earth. Oh yeah, go ahead and laugh, people. You know what it's like to bury 10,000 pheasants and make those stupid little tombstones one after one. They call birds foul and pheasants are the primary reason. So you can be passionate about what you are. But what do you look like? I mean, what do you look like? Think about it. Think about your own brand. What do you look like? Look at me. Look at this outfit. Business, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. This is what I call the business mullet of suits. Oh yeah, business on the outside, party on the inside. Right? Think about what it is you look. And I want to talk about your brand because let me tell you, people are going to be talking about brand for years to come, and brand is so important now. The way we talk about our brand. What's our brand? Well, let me tell you, it's 2 things. First of all, it's something that we occasionally put on a horse and we always put on a cow. That's where the word brand came from. From cowboys like me who branded our cattle when we turned them loose so we could separate them and find them from one owner to the next. In fact, brand means the iconic representation of ownership on the side of a bovine. That's where we got the word brand, and now it's all represented about these companies. Well, let me tell you what the brand is. It's your promises delivered. Your promise delivered, so you think hard and fast as you leave this convention. As you go out into the workforce, what is the promise that you're going to deliver as a sales and marketing professional? That's your brand. Let me don't hear 5 years from now that it's spray tans and vodka sours. Let me hear that you're a professional and making it happen. And I want you to stand for something. Because I tell people as I help them make these transitions from being a traditional company to a digital company that if you suck offline, you will suck online. In fact, let me tell you something. When I went to Kodak, they had this printer that they were going to launch. It was $4 million. It cost between $1 million to $4 million. It was from this stage to this stage, about this tall, looked like a big tractor trailer truck. They brought it to me and said, Jeff, you're going to be announcing this at Drupa. There'll be 8,000 people in attendance in the room when you announce it. And we wanted you to announce this print. It's the world's fastest printer, 4,000 pages per minute, clay-coated stock, which is glossy stock, offset class quality. It was unbelievable. Basically, trees went in one side, sheets of paper shut out the other side. That's That's what it was. It was an unbelievable printer. They brought it to me, they showed it to me, and I said, you're not launching that, you're not moving that, that's not going to happen. They said, why? I said, look at it. It looks like something that Soviet shot putters have designed. It's a big gray box. You tell me this is the fastest printer in the world, the highest quality printer. When we pull the covers off of it, people should go, oh! They should run up to it, want to have their picture taken next to it. That's what it should look like. It should look like a Ferrari. It should look like a Maserati. It should look like fire is coming out of its ass as it's sitting there on the showroom floor. So until you bring me to something that looks like that, I am not going to announce it. They said, can we have a couple of weeks? I said, sure. Put the picture back up. They bring me this. If you look at it, they rounded the corners, if you can see it. Rounded the corners. They made the top white. They put little windows so you could see how fast it was. And then if you look really close, they painted a yellow racing stripe down the middle. Looked like something Czechoslovakians designed, so it was better. It was better. I threw this in there because I thought you'd like this one. When I got to Kodak, they changed the logo like a year before I got there. That's what a lot of people do. They change stuff. They make it look better. But yet I was going around. They were still using the old stuff, old cards. In fact, the way it was when you went to Kodak, you got your picture taken when you first went there, and they put your picture on the business card. Kind of cool, really. Except that the average length of an employee at the time was 27 years. So I'd be in meetings. I'd look at their card, look at them, look at their card. I couldn't figure out who the hell was there. Serious. So I said, look, we're going to retake the pictures. I'm going to make every employee, 45,000 employees, retake pictures. So I sent out a memo that that's what we're going to do. Send a memo that we're going to retake the pictures. And the next day, guess who came to see me? HR, legal. Said, Jeff, you can't do that. I said, why? They said, Jeff, we can't afford to do that. I said, what? We're Kodak. If we can't afford to take pictures, how do we expect our customers to take pictures? So they fought me on it. They said, no, no. They stopped me meeting after meeting. So I did what any good change agent would do. That night I grabbed a couple of 6-packs of beers, went down to the IT department, and I deleted all the files. So we had to retake the pictures. Then I decided that, well, if we're going to change the look of the card, why don't we just change the look? So I decided to go with a different look of the card. Because, see, they hadn't updated it forever. So I said, look, this is like when Facebook and like Twitter was coming in. So this is a couple years ago. I said, so why don't we put something on the back of the card? We got this whole blank on the back. We got our picture on the front. We'll put your Facebook, your Twitter, right, in the front. And on the back, let's have people put their own personal branding statement on the back. Huh? Isn't that cool? You know, like me, there's my horse. That's Jay, my horse. Yeah, it's him. That's taken, by the way, that's taken at Dakota Wild Wings near Miller. That's at the ranch right there. That's Jay. I name all my horses A, B, C. That's Jay. It's a true story, Jay. So I said to people, I said, if you like your cats more than your kids, put a picture of your cats up there. I don't care. Just put a picture. So I sent out a memo. Guess who came to see me the next day? HR and legal. He said, Jeff, we can't do this. I said, somebody please explain to me why. They said, Jeff, we can't do this. You have no mechanism for reviewing these photos. What happens if someone puts something inappropriate on the back of the card? I said, I hope they do it and liven this place up around here. I said, then I turned to him, I said, besides, how are we supposed to find the stupid people? Think about it. And you do, by the way. All right, rules to remember. I got a couple more points and then I'm off the stage. Yeah. Buy the frickin' book. All right, now. People talk a lot about culture, about what the culture, and they want to change the culture. Don't focus about the culture. In fact, you can impact things bigger than you've ever seen before. You want to impact the mood. See, mood. See, people would come to me at Kodak and they would say, Jeff, we'd like you to make it like it used to be. And I would turn to them and say, I'd like to look like I used to when I was 19 as well, but I don't look like that anymore. I look better. See, it's mood. You ever been to a great restaurant, one of the best restaurants you've ever eaten in your life, only to have bad mood? The employees be in a bad state. Turns it off for you. Have you ever been to a maybe not so good restaurant, but the people are so much fun that you want to go back again and again and again? See, mood can change the business more than culture. In fact, one of the things that you want to be able to do, and you'll learn in this thing, is you start to change things. You think, well, and you're going to be enthusiastic about it. You're going to believe that everybody's going to want to do it right away. Well, remember the rule of thirds. A third of people will want to do it right away. A third eventually, and then a third never will. And that's just the way it is. That's the way it is in membership, recruitment, whatever it might be. That's what you'll find. So don't get discouraged by that. And then one of the things you have to do is make the new place better than the old place. So as you help to change things, as I look to bring new changes to organizations, I have to make the new place better than the old place. Give you an example. When I was back at my place in South Dakota this weekend, I had to go ride the fences. Well, it's 8 miles around, so it takes a while, and it takes me a little while to get up there. So what I got to do is I got to get Jay into the trailer so I can drive out there so I don't have to ride as far. And so to get a horse to go in a small, confined space is not a natural act. See, the horses have evolved over the years by believing that anything that comes up to it wants to eat it. So they immediately want to run, to flee, to run. I mean, that's just what they do. So I bring up Jay, and I get him ready, and I walk him up to the trailer, and I say, Jay, get in. There's some oats in there. There's some hay. Hey, we're going to see a girl. Come on, man, get in. And I could winch him in, and he still won't want to go. So I have to back him up over here. I have to bring him. I have to take a little switch, and I have to go, yeah, ha, ha, woo, 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 yeah, 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 yeah. And I move him around. I move him. I irritate him. I bug his legs. I make him run for a little bit. And then I walk him calmly back to the trailer. And I say, Jay, get in, man. Some oats, some hay, some girls. And he doesn't want to go in. And I have to back him up over here. Yeah, 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 yeah. Woo, ha, 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 ha. 4, 5, sometimes as much as 6 times. Until I make the new place better than the old place. Driving change isn't easy. Last but not least, when I was a college student, just like most of you, I had the opportunity to bring speakers onto the campus. I went to a small Lutheran school in Sioux Falls called Augustana College. A couple thousand students. I used to bring the speakers onto the campus. Got to bring some of the greatest speakers in the world. Mikhail Gorbachev, Margaret Thatcher, Elie Wiesel, Ralph Nader. Remember Ralph Nader? Some of you, those of you who are laughing, explain it to the people younger than you. I picked him up in a 1976 Ford Pinto at the airport. Those of you who are really laughing, you know what I'm talking about. It was the first major recall because that car used to blow up on impact. And he wouldn't get in the car. I remember I had to borrow $20 from somebody at the airport just to get him a cab to go back to the campus. And then I had a speaker by the name of Jacques Cousteau. Remember Jacques Cousteau? Night before his speech, I took him out to dinner, and we had a wonderful dinner, and he regaled me. As we drank a few bottles of wine, he told me story after story after story of some of the adventures that he and his compadres had. And he told me about one time he was down deep about 100 feet, which is very deep if you've ever done any diving. And as you come out of the 100 feet, if you start to return to the surface, you have to come up in stages. By coming up in stages, it prevents you from catching or getting the bends. Decompression of the air, expanding in your bloodstream, which would be a painful, painful ordeal and sometimes results in death. He was coming towards the end of his dive, and he calculated exactly how much time he had left and what it would take him to go in stage by stage. And as he was coming out and he was running low on his air, he's coming out of the underwater cave that he was in, he severed his air hose. As he severed that air hose, at that depth, the pressure from that depth rushed what little air that he had left in the tanks out and depleted his tank of air, and in that split second he decided that he had to swim to the top. It was his only chance to live. And he knew that even in that split second, even if he raced to the top, he still might not make it, and he still might get the bends, and he still might die. But he had a chance. So he took off as fast as he could. And out of nowhere, someone stopped him, grabbed his legs, and it was one of his swimming buddies. And even though he was running out of air, he stopped. He took off his breathing apparatus, and he shared it back and forth. And they made it in stages and stages and stages, sharing what life-giving air was left in his tanks. And he made it. And at dinner that night, I turned to him and I said, Mr. Cousteau, weren't you scared? Weren't you petrified? You could have died. And he said to me, Jeffrey, one should never be scared when you're in good company. Ladies and gentlemen, you're in the Pi Sigma Epsilon. You're not only in good company, you're in great company. And it's been my honor to share this with you, and I thank you very, very much. Thank you and good night. Thank you.
Hey, let's give him one more round of applause. Thank you very much. That was incredible.